What's up, everybody? Shauna D Man here. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you guys are doing great. Hope you guys are having yourselves a great weekend. We are here with our review of Fantastic Four First Steps. We went and watched it last night. So you're watching the review on Saturday, so a day after I watched it. Before we get into the review, if you're new, be sure you hit that like and subscribe button, or if you're watching on Rumble, give a follow over there. Other than that, let's get into it. So Fantastic Four First Steps. This is a film that it has been really highly anticipated for quite some time since it was announced. Now, one of the things was this movie was coming out in July, going against Jurassic World Rebirth and James Gunn's Superman. And a lot of the question was in regards to these three films, who would basically win the day. So from what I have seen, a lot of people say, mainly focusing on Superman and Fantastic Four, I've seen a lot of people say they prefer Fantastic Four over Superman. I would definitely say after watching Fantastic Four, and just I would probably choose Fantastic Four over Superman right now. There was a lot of stuff in Superman, and I did a review of it the other week that I just didn't really like in that movie. This one, Fantastic Four, there was stuff I didn't like, but it wasn't as bad or as glaring as Superman. So overall, I really liked the film. I enjoyed it. From a pure entertainment standpoint, it was pretty entertaining for sure. It is definitely one of Marvel's best movies that they put out so far, at least in 2025. I think it's better than Captain America: Brave New World. It's better than Thunderbolts. It's better than Daredevil: Born Again, even though Born Again was just a TV series. Up to this point, in 2025, this has been the main. This is the best thing that they put out, and it still has its issues. Don't get me wrong, but they need this movie to drastically succeed, because keep in mind, I believe the next Marvel movie that's going to come out is the Avengers Doomsday. It's either Avengers Doomsday or it's Spider-Man: a Brand New Day. I think it's Doomsday. So this film kind of sets us up 4 years into the Fantastic Four already being who they are. We do get some exposition on, we don't go through the whole origin story of it. We get exposition to kind of tell us about it, and how we get some flashbacks here and there, some things like that. And so they're already kind of well established, and we kind of see that through the open dialogue of the movie, where we see him doing all these different things, whether it's Ben jumping into the ocean to drag his ship close to the shore, whether it's Sue using her power to catch a falling object, and things like that. So they're already well established. Everybody loves. We kind of seen a lot of this throughout the trailer with the whole "Thank you, Fantastic Four" shtick and everything like that. Obviously, we learned in this movie that Reed and Sue are going to have a son, and Galactus wants the son. I think this was I think everybody knew Sue was going to be pregnant, but I think this was like not leaked. I don't want to say it was leaked, but it was a major plot point that was kind of released in a clip a couple of weeks ago, where when the Fantastic Four meets Galactus for the first time. But I'll get into that in a second. The cast overall, I still would have preferred a much younger cast. I think Joseph Quinn's probably fine, but I would have rather much liked a much younger cast, because again, if you're planning on keeping people around for like 10 plus years again, like you did with the first half, or like the Infinity Saga of the MCU, I mean, Vanessa Kirby and Pedro Pascal are kind of already up there. They're like, let's see, how old are they actually? Let me see. Let's see. Vanessa Kirby 37, so she could probably play Sue within the next 10 years potentially. Whereas you got Pedro, he's already 50, so by that point he'll be like 60 years old. And then, well, I guess while I'm looking, let's look at Joseph Quinn. He's 31, so he could probably play Johnny for a good 10 years, maybe. Maybe, and then Eobon, he is 48. So for the most part, you got 50, 48, 37, and 31. I maybe would have liked for them to maybe be around maybe 27, 28, 29. I maybe 30, 31. Some, I know that's young, but again, you unless you're planning on doing something different or maybe even recasting them when you reboot the MCU, they're going to be pretty old by this point, by within the next 10 years or so, depending on what it is, and they may not be able to do a lot of the stuff that you might need them to do in these films. So Pedro Pascal is I was never really sold on him as Reed Richards anyway. I thought, I don't know who you could have gotten to be in this movie to be Reed Richards, but I think you probably could have found somebody maybe a little bit better to fit the role. But right now, I feel like Marvel went with him because he's the hot name. You know, he the Mandalorian, The Last of Us. I think he's in the Odyssey as well. He was in Gladiator 2. He's in another movie right now with Chris Evans and who's that other person? Chris Evans and well, I can't think of her name. Yeah, I can't think of the actress's name, but and kind of a lot of people are kind of like a little fatigue of Pedro because it just seems like he is almost in a lot of things, and whether you agree with it or not, the whole stuff like the whole because a talking point has been like the way he acts around his female co-stars. Some people are like, that's a proper gentleman. Others like that's kind of creepy. It's that's up to you to decide. But I promise you, like if this was somebody else doing it, if this was like if you saw somebody like a random person on the street doing the same kind of stuff that Pedro Pascal's doing, you would be calling him creepy. Plain like there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So, but that's beside the point. But the cast, they're okay. I like Vanessa Kirby. She wasn't a girl boss, which I think Marvel, they did a lot of reshoots and a lot of editing and stuff, and I think they did cut out a lot of stuff. She wasn't the typical girl boss that you saw, because I don't remember where I saw it. I remember it was talked about where it was like she's the leader of the Fantastic Four. There was like an article or something like that had came out, and it was talking about that, and it got everybody up in arms about it. And in this movie, that's not really the case. Reed is still the de facto leader of the Fantastic Four. There's a lot of stuff from a press standpoint that caused a lot of issues that probably weren't warranted whatsoever. Is there a girl boss moment? Well, yes, there's one with Sue, and then there's one with Silver Surfer, if you want to call it a girl boss. With Sue, I don't think it's really a girl boss. I chalk it up because like towards the end of the movie, when they're battling Galactus, she uses her powers to such extreme levels. And my thought of it was, this is a mother basically saving her child. and it showed how it really showed her like another level of power that Sue has. But I think it's a girl boss moment. No, it's definitely more of just along the lines of a mother protecting her child, we have seen obviously in real life mothers will go to great lengths to protect their children. We all know that. Um, so I thought she was very good. I wasn't really sure about her as Sue, but I think I'm fine with her as Sue. Um, Joseph Quinn as Johnny Storm. He talked about how he wasn't really much of like a ladies' man. I believe what it was. He's kind of a ladies' man, but it's not as extravagant as a Chris Evans Human Torch was in the Fantastic Four and then Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer. Definitely nothing like the Fan Four Stick one, but I think you could have done more with it. I feel like there's a lot of stuff with these characters you could have done more, and because we're skipping ahead 4 years into their lives as the Fantastic Four, you kind of miss out on some of that growth that comes along with them being superheroes. Like take Ben Grimm for instance. You don't see how you don't get to see how people treat him in the earlier years as like a monster and that kind of thing for him being the Thing. In this movie, everybody loves him. Kids love him. They want him to pick up the car. They want him to say the catchphrase. So you do miss out on some elements as far as character driven moments. But I've seen people say this feels like a sequel to a movie that we never saw. And so I can understand. I can probably see where they're coming from in regards to that. Um, the female Silver Surfer, Shala Ball. I I'm on it. I don't think she really did. I didn't like the Rose Tico moment where like if Rose Tico moment is like if you remember with the last Jedi when Finn is going to basically sacrifice himself to destroy the little miniature Death Star, and right as he's about to do it, Rose comes in, saves his life, that kind of thing. I didn't really like that. I don't think I. Yeah, I think they could have done something different with it. I think they definitely could have done something different with it. But as far as she goes, she was okay. Um, mm, she was fine. She was fine. Um, Galactus though, I really love Galactus in this movie, and I am very much looking forward, and I hope we see him again because this was and then the voice actor. I can't remember the guy who's voicing him, but he's very well known. I just loved everything about him. His side, just watching him towards the end of the movie when he arrives on Earth and he, walks across the city and everything. How tall he is! It was just so cool to see. And I do hope we do see him again because this is like like a Thanos level, Avengers level threat. Galactus is, and you can't have him a one and done in this movie. So I do hope when we get a reboot, they'll definitely bring him back. I love the shot when they arrive on Galactus' ship and Shalabal takes him to meet Galactus, and you just see his eyes light up. I was like, oh, that is just so cool, so cool. Um, there's there's funny moments in it, but nothing that made me like laugh or even do a chuckle. Like some of it was kind of what we saw in the trailer, the one where Johnny talks about how after Reed makes the new suits, he talks about how I want to take back every mean thing I said about you to myself, and it wasn't really funny. It was just kind of like meh. Um, I thought it was an interesting choice. I think they could have done better with Reed and Sue having to choose between the world and their son. because it just seemed like a weird choice where like they could, because they come back from Earth and they basically tell them like Galactus was asking too steep a price. Now you probably could have been like, why would you say that? You should have brought that up. But the moment when they're like, it was either give up our son or let the world be destroyed. They chose to keep their son, and like all of a sudden everybody's like turning against them. And I'm just like, I don't know if I really like that. I think you could have done something different with that as well. That's such a weird thing where it's like you want them to give up their child in order to save your life. And it's just like the Fantastic Four has done all these things, it saved all these lives over the years. And a moment of notice when they do something basically for themselves, you turn against them all like just like relatively quick. And it was just a weird thing for them to do, and that, at least that's just my opinion about it. But overall, they defeat the Galactus, obviously, because the plan is to send him millions of light years, strand him where he can never bother anybody. I, Interesting plan. Um, and then we get to the end of the movie. I guess it's an interesting moment where their watches goes off and they're trying to fit the car seat into the Fantastic car and everything. Um, kids car seats are a hassle. So, but we do get a post credit scene where it's 4 years later. Sue is like reading a story to Franklin, and she kind of gets up to go get a book or something like that. And she comes back and we see her like basically activate her powers, and we see Franklin talking to a guy in a green hood with a Doctor Doom mask in hand. And so I'm curious, like, is this the first time that they're meeting Doctor Doom, or has Doctor Doom been around? Because we do see earlier in the film, when Sue is addressing like basically like United Nations or whatever, at least the equivalent of United Nations, we see we pan over to Latvia and that seat is empty. So Doctor Doom, or at least maybe Victor Von Doom, is out there. But I'm curious on if the Fantastic Four have already met him or not, or is this what we saw at the end of the movie, the post credit scene of the movie? Is this the first time that they're meeting him? So it is going to be interesting to see on how that plays out with Doomsday. And I thought they would have addressed the post credit scene of Thunderbolts when the Excelsior arrives in the Prime MCU universe. I thought they were going to address that, but they didn't. So I don't know. I guess they could address it when we get to Avengers Doomsday, sure. But that's about 2 years away. And so I'm trying to think if there was anything else that I there was something. I'm trying to remember what it was. There was something I liked, or at least I wanted to mention, but now I can't think of it. Shoot, now I can't remember. There was something. There was something. I just can't think of what it was. It was in the back of my mind as I was talking about the whole Doctor Doom stuff. Well, now I'm mad. Now I'm mad. I can't remember what I was talking about, but that's okay. That's okay. But like I said, overall, I thought this movie it's entertaining. It is a fun, entertaining movie to watch. It definitely feels like a movie that is late on when it should have come out. This probably should have been a movie that kicked off Phase 4 of the multiverse saga. Now, again, I don't remember when the rights and everything came up and stuff like that for Marvel to use these characters. So it is understandable why they kind of had to wait a certain amount of time before they could use the Fantastic Four. But I still think they probably, with the amount of time that they had, They could have probably maybe done a better job at giving us a really good Fantastic Four movie. I think this movie is good, but not great. Um, I don't know where I would rank it amongst the Marvel movies. I really would have to think about that, honestly. But I know what it was. So I do like the futuristic 60s style that they did. This movie really benefited being its own self-contained story, having nothing to do with the MCU. It's just in its own little pocket universe. I think it benefited very well from it being just that. So, but yeah, that's is relatively it. That's my review for Fantastic Four First Steps. Overall, I would probably give this movie a like a 7 out of 10, 6.5, 7 out of 10. Um, I did enjoy it. Uh, Definitely better than Thunderbolts, Falcon and Winter Soldier. So we have to just wait and see how things shape out with Avengers Doomsday, because who knows? Who knows what's going to happen with that particular movie? But yeah, definitely, I would say go check it out. It's a very fun movie. You'll enjoy it. Don't go in expecting this movie to be like it needs to be like this amount of money to be successful. It does need to be successful, but I think if it's able to make 700, maybe even 800, I think 700 minimal is probably good for them. I could probably see 600, maybe. But we'll have to just see. We'll have to see. But guys, that is relatively it. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for watching. If you're new to the channel, be sure you hit that like and subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube. But if you're watching on Rumble, be sure to hit that follow button as well. Plenty of content that you guys can check out. But other than that, I will see y'all in the next video. Y'all have a good one.